Time for convening having arrived. The Senate will come to order. Would ask unauthorized visitors to exit the chamber at this time. Senate will come to order. Recognize the very distinguished Rules Chairman, the Senator from the 53rd.
Good morning, Mr. President. The journal has been read and found to be correct.
Thank you for your good works on the journal. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection? Confirmation of the journal? Chairs none. And the journal is confirmed. All senators having bills and resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions.
Senate Bill 1 by Senators Ligon Jr. of the 3rd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 and Title 19 of the OCGA.
Insurance.
Senate Bill 2 by Senators Alber of the 56th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 34 of the OCGA.
Insurance.
Senate Bill 14 by Senators Unterman of the 45th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 31 of the OCGA relating
Health
to
and Human Services.
Senate Bill 54 by Senator Carter of the 1st. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide for the nonpartisan election. Senate Bill 35 by Senator Carter of the 1st. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to elections and primaries generally so as to provide. Senate Bill 56 by Senator Stone of the 23rd. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 44 of the OCGA.
Banking.
Senate Bill 57 by Senators James of the 35th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section.
Education.
Senate Bill 58 by Senators James of the 35th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-6-391 of the
Public Safety.
Senate Bill 59 by Senators Carter of the 42nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-3.
Higher Education.
Senate Resolution 8 by Senators McCoon of the 29th and others. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to limit authority of the General Assembly to impose taxes on income.
Finance Committee.
Through with the order, Mr. President.
It is now time for the morning roll call. Morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Motions to excuse. Chair recognizes Senator from the 40th.
Mr. President, ask the senator from the 56th be excused.
56. Without objection, Senator from the 56th will be excused. Chair recognizes Senator from the 34th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 38th. She is on Capitol Hill.
38th, without objection, the senator will be excused. Any other motions to excuse? Senators, please signify your presence by voting the yea switch. Secretary will unlock the machine. It is now time for our morning devotion. I ask that the chamber prepare itself for our morning devotion. Senators, please take your seats. It is with great pleasure that I present to you Senator from the 10th for the purpose of leading us in our pledge and introducing our chaplain of the day. Senator.
Thank you, Governor. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and the Georgia flag.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag, to the magnificence of which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. It is my honor to welcome Reverend Claire Yoder, who has served as Mount Zion United Methodist Church, the faith leader in Ellenwood, Georgia, for the past 4 years. I've had an opportunity to sit down and meet with Reverend Yoder, and she was suggested to me by Ms. Vicki Gibbs. And one thing that I quickly learned from Ms. Yoder is that she is a woman of distinction, and she certainly is a woman that's not afraid to speak her mind. She reminded me on several occasions that, Senator, whatever you say about me, tell the truth. So I am delighted to stand here this morning to welcome Reverend Claire Yoder as our pastor today. Reverend Yoder is from Griffin, Georgia, and she reminded me that she's traveled extensively across not just this great state, but also across the United States of America. And I asked her, were you traveling to sightsee or were you traveling to evangelize? And she said, I am a lady of the cloth. Reverend Yoder shared with me something very, very personal. She will be at Arlington National Cemetery toward the end of this month to funeralize one of her members. Her member was a command sergeant major in the military, and Sergeant Major Ross had risen to the highest rank that an enlisted person can occupy. And I asked Pastor Yoder, how is it that you came to have this honor? And she reminded me that while she would be at Arlington National Cemetery, there will be no military chaplain accompanying her. And Reverend Yoder reminded me that this member of her church and the widow wanted her to preside over this event. She also reminded me that her member passed away some time ago, but there was some delay in having this ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. I could tell from the time that I spent talking to Pastor Yoder that she is a strong, strong woman of faith. I am delighted to welcome her here at this chamber today, and I certainly look forward to hearing the words that she shared with us this morning. Pastor Yoder.
They make pulpits and podiums for people that are 7 feet tall, not 5 feet 2. It is my honor, Mr. President, and members of this distinguished body, to be here with you today. When I was asked if I would come and be chaplain for the day, I hesitated. I was on the way home Tuesday from North Carolina. We had been on vacation for a week, and Vicki called, and I said, well, she says, please. I said, okay. I don't know anything about anyone in this place except a little bit about Jeff Mullis. But I do know that each of you have at least one thing in common. You were elected by your districts, your constituents, to be their senator. I almost said representative. I was reminded, don't use that word in this place. And that carries a huge responsibility that also can become a reason for lost sleep. The desires of one district most likely are not the desires of another district. You know, our great country is governed by the people. And where there are people, there are different opinions of what is good, of what is better, and of what is best. Our founding fathers demonstrated that, but they also demonstrated that compromise is absolutely essential. They were able to debate. They had heated debate. But in the end, they compromised and the Constitution of the United States was composed. Now, I'm not here today to give you a history lesson, but I am here to try to remind each of you that you not only represent your district, but you represent all of the people in the state of Georgia. I see some of you frowning. You're disagreeing with me, perhaps. I understand that you were elected by your district to represent that district, but none of us are autonomous. The decisions you make here affect all of us in some way, and that requires each side of the aisle to communicate with each other. Now, in the Bible, in the New Testament, Paul has something to say to the Philippians about the subject of government. His advice is great, but difficult at times, difficult to hear and difficult to follow. I invite you to hear what he says. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility regard others as better than yourselves. Let each of you look not to your own interest, but to the interest of others. I think that's another way of saying treat others as you want them to treat you. Respect doesn't mean that you have to agree on everything that is before you. But it does mean that you listen, you ponder, you talk to each other with civility as you debate the issues before you. I looked on your website, and there are only two parties here in this body, Democrats and Republicans. That's in alphabetical order, not by my choice. No one is listed as libertarian. Each group has different ideas how to achieve the desires for their district. That makes the need for communication even stronger. You are our voices. You represent us, the people, and the future of Georgia is in your hands. I'm just an ordinary citizen trying to live within the rules that others set for me. I try to follow the rules and the laws made for everyone's protection. You, as senators, have an obligation to each person in this great state of Georgia. Paul told us to pray for our leaders, and we do that in our church. We ask that you will be wise in your endeavors for us, and that what is done here will be for the good of all. Proverbs says, keep sound wisdom and prudence. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. If you sit down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. And then I have added, because you know you are doing what is right and just. Wisdom and prudence from above are yours for the asking. Some 9 million plus people are depending on you. So I ask you to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. Would you pray with me, please? Gracious God, Creator of us all, be with these who labor here for the good of all your people. Each one has been sent here by their electorate to represent them. Give your wisdom, give your guidance, give your strength at all times, especially when the decisions are difficult. We ask that your presence be felt in this place as the business of the people is conducted. Give open ears to hear you. Give open hearts to follow you so that your will be done. All honor and glory be yours. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I'll stand. We're going to stand around here.
Thank you so much. Okay, good. We want to help you there. Thank you very much.
The permanent seating chart
I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our Doctor of the Day, and to do so, I call upon the distinguished senator from the 51st.
Good morning. It's an honor to have my doctor from Dawsonville, Georgia, here with us today, Dr. Larry Anderson. With the exception of his father, Dr. Anderson's a fifth-generation physician, all of whom were in the family medicine and all practice in North Georgia. Dr. Anderson attended medical school with a state scholarship and paid this back by practicing in an underserved area for 5 years. He's a Vietnam veteran. While being in private practice, Dr. Anderson serves the community in Dawson County as the medical director of a free clinic and also as the chairman of the Board of Health. In addition, Dr. Anderson is also an associate professor in clinical medicine. Dr. Anderson has served for more than 25 years as Doctor of the Day at the General Assembly. Please welcome Dr. Anderson to the Georgia General Assembly.
Thank you, Senator Gooch. Being a rural physician, one of the most common questions I ask is, do I make house calls? And I tell them I do once a year, but that's on the other side of the building. I'm still waiting for somebody to ask if I make Senate calls. I have two thank yous. One for you. One is for thank you for funding medical scholarships that allow us to practice in underserved communities to pay back so that we can get our medical education done. Thank you for that. The next thank you is not really for you, but it's for your family. After seeing Senator Gooch's elections and his campaigning, I became very aware of how much time, effort, sacrifice, love, that the family puts in supporting you to run for office and to serve in the Senate. So please take my heartfelt thank yous back to your family. And the aid station is on the second floor. No appointments. We don't take insurance. So please come see us. Okay.
Excellent. Well said and well done. Thank you very much. It's good to have y'all with us today. Real pleasure. You as well. Thank you. Senator Carter. Secretary will read a resolution. We have a very special guest we would like to recognize. I'd like to ask the Senate to keep their conversations to a very minimal voice. Secretary Reed.
Senate Resolution 15 by Senator Carter of the 42nd. A resolution congratulating poet Natasha Trethewey on receiving the distinguished position of 19th Poet Laureate of the United States and for other purposes. Whereas Natasha Trethewey has long been recognized by citizens of this state for her critically acclaimed poetry and creative nonfiction collections, now having attained the position of 19th Poet Laureate of the United States. And whereas she was born in Gulfport, Mississippi, and she received a BA in English from the University of Georgia, an MA in English and creative writing from Hollins University, and an MFA in poetry from the University of Massachusetts. And whereas Natasha Trethewey was awarded the 2007 Pulitzer Prize for her third collection, Native Guard, and her fourth collection was recently published in August 2012. And now therefore be it resolved by the Senate that the members of this body congratulate Ms. Natasha Trethewey on being named 19th Poet Laureate of the United States and extend to her this most sincere wishes for continued success and happiness. Through with the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. It is a very great, distinct honor to have such a wonderful guest and to recognize our special guest. I call upon the distinguished senator from the 42nd.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. It is my great honor to introduce one of the most distinguished Georgians as the Poet Laureate of the United States. And Natasha is a constituent of mine. I have known her for some time. And what I knew a lot more about her than I did about being the Poet Laureate of the United States. It has an official office. She's actually leaving tomorrow to go to Washington to take it. And she is a professor at Emory and has done writing there, but as many of the amateur poets in this crowd know, it's nice to have a real, true professional in our midst. So the Poet Laureate of the United States of America is from Georgia. I thought you all would like to know, and I thought you all would like to get a chance to meet her. So I'm excited to have Natasha Trethewey here, and if you would say something poetic, it would be.
I'll try. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's such an honor to be here and to be honored this way in the state I now call home. I thought I might tell you just about the office of the Poet Laureate. For the longest time, it was called the Consultant in Poetry to the Library of Congress. And you might recall, and Jason just reminded me of this, that another Georgian, another Southerner, James Dickey, held that office. Also, Alan Tate was a consultant in poetry. But the first Poet Laureate, when they changed the title to in 1985, was Robert Penn Warren. He'd also been a consultant and then later on the first Poet Laureate. I am the first Southerner since Robert Penn Warren to hold the office, and I will occupy my office at the Library of Congress starting tomorrow, and I will represent you very well. Thank you.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. What a great distinction. That is so honored to have you here today. Thank you. Good. We already got a picture, didn't we?
I don't think we did.
Oh, okay. Let's do it. Yeah.
I need to.
Would like to ask the escort committee to the governor to go ahead and proceed down at this time to the governor's office. Committee of Escorts, please. We'll just stand at ease. We need to be prepared in about 5 minutes to line up here at the door, and we will be escorted over to the House. Senate will stand at ease. We will be back at 1 o'clock. The Senate will reconvene at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.